Whenever you're ready, Robert.
I'm just checking.
And it should be up and running, and we go.
Right, yeah.
Right. Another one of our evenings in the shed, as we say. Tonight, something a little bit different. We're going to do a bit of an F1 chat with everybody. Anybody that wants to get involved and have a chat, please feel free to do so. There's myself and Robbie, and we've got our resident F1 hero, Olivia, come in, and she's going to give us a bit of a chat and have a chat about bits and pieces, and then we'll go over some stuff together, and hopefully we'll have half an hour of some inspiring F1 talk.
Yeah, some rundown of the new season, I guess, that we've got coming up. Obviously, we've had some driver switches, and we know this year's going into some regulation changes and everything. So I just thought we could talk about that a little bit. So we could start with the teams and the sort of team drivers. Are you aware of the teams that we've got?
Yes, obviously we've got.
Who we're rooting for?
I've got my Mercedes hat, my new one on, so obviously I'm already sort of kind of pinning my sail to the wind a little bit by thinking I quite fancy Mercedes this year. But I also, if you listen to the odd little rumour kicking about, Lewis seems quite happy with his Ferrari, which is a strange one.
We know he's
So
had
maybe
a new race engineer, so we might have some different sort of strategies, different ideas, new car, hopefully.
We've got a couple of new. Well, you say a couple of new teams. We've got a new team,
We've
but
got
a couple
new
that have
team.
rebranded.
We've got a new driver, first time in F1. Well, properly, not just test laps and things.
Yeah.
Obviously, we know sort of McLaren are wanting to stay quite high after their win last season. So we've still got Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri as the McLaren driver lineup. It's actually Lando Norris' 7th season in F1 now. So he's actually
you can't really
quite
call him a baby anymore.
Not anymore. He was one of those cool rookies, but he's sort of past that. I mean, I'm so surprised that Oscar's technically going into his 4th season.
These young drivers, then when you're used to seeing them as long as we have now, you still think of them as a young driver.
Yeah.
Actually, they're not, are they? So, they are young compared to me, but for a driver now, some of them have actually are experienced. You look at some of the other youngsters that are floating around, that are on the edges of it, the cusp of it. You're actually asking them, have they even got a driving license, let alone anything else? And they're in an F1 car,
Exactly. I mean, they've also still said that they're not having a number 1 or 2 driver. What do you think about that going into this season after what happened last season for McLaren?
Well, for me, I think that's going to be very hard, considering you've got Lando as the world champion, so he's there with wanting to regain his title. So whether he wants to say yes, I agree to no team orders and there was no official number 1, I guess you start the season and say, well, okay, let's see how the first couple of races go. But if I'm proving after the first couple of races that I am ahead of you on the things, I'm sorry, but I am the reigning champion and I want to keep that. So I would be pushing that we play the team game. If on a weekend you're far superior to me, hell, I'll bow down and think on the condition that I'm not losing out on my championship.
I mean, that's definitely fair, but I mean, it was so close last year. You'd argue that Oscar almost feels like he probably wants to have that right as well. It's hard. Yeah. I feel like it's definitely almost got to be a team decision who's going to be the number 1 or 2 driver. And they probably would be better to stick it out from the beginning of the season, maybe only change it if something really drastically goes wrong. Because I mean, at the beginning of last season, it was Oscar for a good whole chunk, even till sort of summer, that he was in the lead, and there was still no number one or two driver. So,
What do you think, Rob? Do you think they'll be sticking to team orders, or do you think they'll actually give them a chance to race? And that is anyway.
I mean, with how I've seen it go down in races, I think there's always going to be sort of a favour, especially with how they see each car do. And, I think they'll try and focus on Lando, considering he's the holder. But you could go, well, there's moments in races that Piastri's car looked best, so maybe you'll focus on him. But it will probably be more focused on, especially since he's the champion, they're going to try and focus on making sure he stays at the top. So I think many teams would do that though, and I think many teams have that main driver and they'll try and focus on it. But it's also mainly the car and not the driver itself at times.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. It was strange, and you kind of hit it to start with when you said how the beginning of the season it was Oscar that was the superior driver and the leader, and then he obviously whether it was meant or not, he seemed to lose a few places and a few races. He was out of contention and things, and Lando got back into it. But I suppose when you've got the likes of Max Verstappen on the outskirts creeping back in, and he's still competing, he was the champion at the time. He's going to compete and want to try and retain the championship. So at the end of the day, you've got to. I think that after 5 or 6 races, you should be able to turn around and determine who your number one driver is. I think you give them that leeway for the first 5 races, and if they're even, then hell, you're going to have to let them race. But if there is somebody that is, even if he falls off, it doesn't matter. But you give that person that chance that you're going to give him the first pick of everything for the rest of the season. And if it goes wrong, you turn around and you have to look at yourself and go, well, either the driver isn't good enough, or was it stuff we did that meant that he didn't continue the form he was in?
I mean, that's how we saw the Mercedes and the Red Bull dominance. They had a number one driver, whether the drivers really enjoyed it or not. But that's how they maintain that streak of being world champion. But also, it's how you. I mean, I know we all love a title fight in Abu Dhabi. I'm never going to say that I don't, but that's how they were winning 6 races before the end of the season, because they had one driver who was the main point scorer.
As you say, Max's first 2 championships, they basically had a driver that was competing and was able to be up there competing and give them a chance for the constructor side of things. But when the drivers then realised that they couldn't drive the car, or the car wasn't really in favour of the drivers to help them, it was then, right, we just concentrate on Max and just make sure Max wins. And it still happened for 2 or 3 seasons. But you look at your number 2 drivers, there's only really been one that stood out to me that has gone from the get-go, well, I'm happy to be a number 2 driver, and showed it, was Bottas at McLaren.
Now we're getting a team of 2 number 2 drivers.
Yeah.
We're getting with the new Cadillac team. You've got Valtteri Bottas and Checo, and I mean another great number 2 driver essentially. Whether he wanted to be number 2 driver or not, he was. But now, how is that going to stand? So obviously, the Cadillac team is the new team for this season. They're powered by the Ferrari engine, which we'll see how well that goes.
Is it last year's engine or the same engine they've got this time around?
It'll be the same.
So okay. So the Ferrari and Cadillac could be.
So if one messes up, then you'd assume the other one has a high chance of messing up. If one does well, then you'd assume the other one does well. So basically, that is the new team. So I'm interested to see where they take the direction. Obviously, for their first season, I'm sure they're not going to be up there with thinking crazy ideas. But you know, the team that we have, you know, is full of former champions and winners, and you know, even the teams that they've got for technical stuff that are have been part of previous teams who've won, and so I'm sure that they want that, but it is a whole new thing for them, and you know, with the new regulation changes, everybody's going to sort of have hiccups, I think, in the beginning, and sort of learning that. So I don't know where I'd put Cadillac. Maybe middle of the field, hopefully.
Well, you'd be on the driver front. You'd go that they're capable of being there.
Oh, higher almost,
Yeah,
but
it's whether it's whether they have enough equipment, as in enough stuff under their belt already, to give them a good start to the season, and be able to do something. I think nobody's seen any reports out yet of times and things from them, so or from anybody really yet. So at the end of the day, we're just surmising, aren't we? And the surmisation that you have at the moment is that you would put a new team at the bottom. You would just say they shouldn't be evolved enough yet to be contending. But I don't know what's. We'll just have to see. Two great drivers, and I like both of them. So I hope they do have a bit of success, at least. You know.
I mean, we are currently doing the Barcelona shakedown, which they advertised that was in Barcelona, but now they're very upset that journalists and reporters are there and are reporting on it and are trying to ban them, which I think is a bit. I mean, why would you say where you're having your shakedown?
Yeah.
This is before pre-season testing. Pre-season testing is coming up in February, but I just find it interesting that they're cracking down on that. So clearly, some teams have something that they're not willing to share just yet.
Yeah.
Obviously, as you're rooting for the Mercedes team, you know your two drivers this season.
Yeah, well, obviously, it's the same as, isn't it? So in that respect, there's no change. So you know that you're going to have Russell will be wanting to be, and is number one there. So that's where it's going to be. But on the occasion, certainly last season, there was races that I watched Antonelli, and I was impressed with him. I think he's got a good chance of coming in and doing really well. I just think a little bit like, in a way, Hamilton couldn't wait any longer and didn't want to wait till the change to see what Mercedes were going to bring.
Yeah.
And I've got a feeling Mercedes have been pushing.
They've talked that they're hoping for dominance with the new regulations. Yeah. Now, hope is obviously its own thing in the sport, and we've seen it so many times before. After pre-season testing, things look really good. At the beginning of the season, the cars look really good, and then midway through, they fall off again. So we can't guarantee. They might have a good this year, but then the following year, everybody then adapts and changes again. So we've got, almost a good few years now where we're going to see some changes again through all the teams. Obviously, again, with our Red Bull team, we've got Max Verstappen. He's going into his 11th season. I mean, I know obviously he wasn't the rookie, but I still remember when he first came in. And now he's one of almost the oldest drivers on the grid as they're sort of rotating through. And then joining him now is going to be Isaac Hadjar, promoted up from Racing Bulls, replacing Yuki, who's moving on to reserve, which I'm glad he's still going to be reserve driver, but I don't see too much.
I can't see him getting an opportunity much.
Unless somebody is ill, unfortunately. So obviously it's Lauren Matthews as the team principal who replaced Horner.
I couldn't remember the name of the guy. I don't really know much about him.
And he's obviously from Racing Bulls, but did you know he's also a former Ferrari sport director? So it will be interesting to see.
If he's got any insights.
Especially as, I feel like it's hard for any driver, team principal, anybody to adjust to to a swap mid-season. So obviously this will be his first going into it from the beginning. I feel like when you swap mid-season, you have to just sort of pick up what you're given, unfortunately, and work with it that way. So it'll be interesting to see what he puts down and lays the law in that regard for a whole season for himself. Ferrari, obviously we've got Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton. Charles going into his 8th season. I mean, I'm sure he's hoping this will be his season, as always, but I'm not quite sure. Obviously Lewis' 2nd season with Ferrari. As I said, he's getting a new racing engineer. Obviously, they're again hoping for some changes, improvements. He seems in the press happy, but then again, you know, I'm sure he's not planning on doing the car day one.
Yeah.
So obviously Fred Russell is their team principal. Obviously the former Sauber, Alfa Romeo principal, but now with Ferrari, obviously. Williams has Alex still and Sainz. So it's Carlos Sainz's 2nd season with the team. He did get 2 podiums last year, which I think surprised quite a few people. That the Williams, well, I mean, it's not too surprising as Williams should be up there getting podiums, but we find unfortunately most seasons that they're not sort of achieving the results that they almost should be. But Carlos Sainz was able to sort of produce some results for them, and it was their highest finish in the team standings in 2017. So, with these new regulation changes, potentially we might be seeing them higher up in the field as we're going through. Like you said, with a new team starting, the new drivers, you'd want to think that the teams with more experience should almost come out on top just a little bit due to all that experience. Racing Bulls, obviously now we have Liam Lawson, which will be his 2nd full season, and he has been allotted the senior driver.
Okay.
And then obviously
it's
Arvid Lindblad is now obviously so he is a rookie, so he's a full-time rookie. He was promoted from F2, and it will be obviously his first full season with them. I mean, what do you think about Racing Bulls?
Well, in a way, you could almost say they overachieved last season. In a way, I think because they were there and thereabouts interfering with the top 4. You know, for me, your top 4 should Ferrari, McLaren, Mercedes, and Red Bull. So you go there, your top 4. Well, there was occasions that they were coming in and they were spoiling the party and getting in the way and not interfering, but you know what I mean. They were there and thereabouts disrupting the points available. So I think, you know, with them and Williams both improving, are they the ones to be watching for to maybe dislodge somebody that's not going to be performing on the top 4? But I just wonder whether with the drivers that they've got, I don't believe Lawson's good enough to lead the team. In my own opinion, I don't think he's good enough, and he's putting a lot on a young lad. But hey, he might be.
I mean,
he might come in there and do really well.
Racing Bulls seem to do that. It's a lot of pressure on someone who's first starting. I mean, how many times have we rotated a rookie out of the seat because of performance issues supposedly, and then
they must see something in Lawson anyway, because they've had him out, they've had him in, they've had him out, they've had him in. So they obviously so there is something there and a reason that they can take it forward, can't they? So give him an opportunity. They might do absolutely fine. You know, come on, listen. At the end of the day, they could always be used as a supplement to be helping the Red Bulls out, which is, you know, what we've all been expecting and all been thinking was going to happen. So.
I mean, I feel like you can't not have him be senior driver, considering it is technically his 2nd season with them. It would be a bit of a kick to the teeth if your new rookie was the number one driver.
Well, I'm not saying he should be, but I just
But-
think that there isn't. I don't believe that Lawson is. I think if there was another driver there and in the team, I don't believe he would have been number one driver. You know, Hadja for me was the better driver of the two
but
of them
then
last
that's why
year.
he got
Now he's
promoted.
yeah. I don't know. What about you, Rob? Do you like who the Racing Bulls have got with their two drivers now? With it,
Well, I sort of agree with what you said. You know, with it being Lawson and whatnot. You know, there's been times where he has shown capability. You know, and talent, and same with the other drivers. And to be honest, I think with what they have and where they've shown in their placings, I think both drivers are capable of reaching that, but also improving upon what they've had in the last couple of years as a team. And I think it certainly might help towards the team growing, especially with I think Lawson being there because he's sort of experienced a lot more, especially with being second seat for the main Rebel team for a little while and everything. So he could sort of bring a bit of knowledge from that over to the second Rebel team.
Yeah, I definitely think it will be interesting as well, just from a developmental point. That yes, with the new regulation changes, Red Bull technically they don't have you're not allowed to class it as two teams, but we all know that they do share information and they do share certain things. Obviously, both teams say that they want to win, which is absolutely fine. And I'm sure each driver individually wants to be world champion, but I definitely think it'll be interesting for them on data points to be able to gather from maybe a midfield team compared to a sort of front field team. Our favourite oldest rookie still at Aston Martin. It's actually going to be his 23rd season. Isn't that mad? So Fernando Alonso and Lance Stroll still are flagship at Aston Martin. And it's actually going to be Lance's 10th season. So he's no longer.
You wouldn't call him a rookie anymore, would you?
No.
But whether it's the car, whether it's him, he's not really gone on and done anything. And I'm not saying he's not capable, because actually there's the odd occasion you watch him, and it is sporadic with him, but the odd occasion you watch him and he actually does a good job. Alonso obviously has whether it's daddy's money and that's why he's not saying anything, I don't know. But for Alonso to have been there, and this is the fourth season they've been together, or something like that, fourth or fifth season they are together. Fourth, yeah. You look at it and you think, well, he obviously must feel he's got something, because even though Alonso is getting on and he's probably thinking, well, I might stand a chance in picking something up and this, that, and the other because I'm driving. Absolutely great for him. But you wouldn't want to be. I don't think he would be suggesting to a team that wants to grow that I don't think he's good enough to help you grow anymore. The fact that he's still got him there and still having him, he must think there's something in it. And you would take, or you would like to think you would listen and take him on board if that was Alonso's opinion of him, that he's obviously worth the spot. And then I just, on a personal level, would like to see him do a bit more. I just think he's too inconsistent, and he needs to get himself into third qualifying a bit more. And if he can do that, he's giving himself more of a chance of being there. You can see with the way some of these tracks are that if you're not in the top 5 or 6, when it comes to the front of the race, you're going to struggle, and you're always going to be in this DRS track. Now DRS isn't there, maybe that might alter, and maybe he might come out into his own.
Well, we also got to remember that for Aston Martin, their team principal is now Adrian Newey.
Well, he can't build a car.
Exactly. But we also have to acknowledge that this car isn't fully going to be built by him.
Yeah.
it's partially designed by Newey, as obviously work packs have started on it last season, and there wasn't the changeover yet. So it's going to be partially designed by Newey, and obviously any upgrades they'll bring will be Newey, but we'll have to see. Especially with, I mean, we know that he can make anything fast, but it is a new reg change, so we'll have to see what. I'm sure he's got to be learning as well. But if anybody's going to make a fast car, it's got to be Adrian Newey. I mean, I'm slightly surprised you haven't said that you were rooting for the Haas team.
I like the team. I've gone off the team a bit
You
because
just
obviously
missed Steiner.
Gunter's not there, and I just think he was brilliant. And I'd love to see him back in a team some way that he's back on the grid, because I think he was brilliant. And obviously that made me follow them more because of him.
Yeah.
I do think Behrman is a good little driver. I think actually he's got a seat, and he's got a very good seat. I don't think they need many twitches and tweaks, and I think they might have a decent car there. They're just not quite getting.
I think towards the end of last season, they really did put themselves up there. They were getting into third qualifying and stuff. So I think they definitely found a rhythm within themselves to sort of push and pull them up there. I mean, obviously, as you said, Behrman, it'll be his second season going forwards, and then obviously Esteban Ocon with his 10th season.
Yeah.
So definitely two semi-season drivers, definitely.
Do you like the idea of the Haas sticking with what they've stuck at, Rob?
I think there's been times where they've actually looked like a really good team in terms of actually doing overtaking and holding their position as well. And to be fair, I think if there's positives in some races and in especially things like that, I think there's no need to change it. So I'm quite happy with what Haas does at times. So I
They
feel
seem to do well. They seem to do well in qualifying, and then it's almost like as if then the Q3, and then they just don't have enough left in it to go. You know, they can easily get into Q3, but they've got nothing.
So you'd argue top of the midfield.
So you're literally looking at them being 8th, 9th, 10th in the.
I definitely think some of it also then does come down into race strategy.
Yes.
It's so different to be doing qualifying, and then you watch some cars put out some amazing pace in qualifying, and then you watch them in the race, and it's just not there.
An ideal bit of a scenario is you look at Ferrari. I know Hamilton's struggled of late, but Leclerc seems to be able to. And I'm not saying that I'm not jumping on the bandwagon and going, well, they've just done it all to Leclerc. I'm just going to put the point across it that he can get a time in there, but then the race and the race pace and the race that just the strategies seem to go out the window. And obviously, Ferrari, whoever does Ferrari's race strategy, I'm sorry.
Well, they're individual to each of them, and then obviously people get priorities and strategies depending on previous races and outcomes, and then also what the driver says that it wants. But obviously, Lewis is getting his new race engineer, which might prove that they might work a little bit better together, and we might see some more race results for Hamilton. Audi, obviously former Kick Sauber, so not necessarily a new team, but a team name change.
Yeah.
We've got Nico Hulkenberg and Gabriel Bortoleto. So obviously, Nico last year got his maiden podium, Silverstone, P3.
Yeah.
So he's definitely probably still going to be on that podium high, seeking that again, which will be interesting to see. Hopefully, I mean, I'd love to see some other drivers who haven't had so many podiums get some more again. I mean, obviously they said for 2026 and the new regulation changes they wanted closer driving, which they say every year, but I think that's what they're truly trying to aim for. So hopefully that might be something that we can see.
If the DRS thing, now that it's gone, makes the midfield closer to the top runners, then it gives everybody it does make it that then it'll give everybody a chance of getting into the top 5 or 6 and getting a podium. And if they've got it so that the midfield are up to that 5th or 6th level, there's only got to be the odd incident, the odd tyre go or pit stop goes wrong for the top runners.
Yeah.
That actually it gives them an opportunity to get in there. So I think that is going to be key to whether the regulation changes are actually going to give the closer racing for the bottom teams. I don't know, Rob. What do you think? What would you like to see that if it isn't done this season now with the changes? What might come up that'll be something that would help the lesser teams, should we say, and give them a chance to get more points?
I feel that there should be something that may be introduced is where if you're going to get rid of points for fastest lap, why not introduce a point where you get a point if you've committed the most overtakes or positions gained, and that can sort of motivate lower teams to go, well, I won't be able to get to the front of the pack, but if I push my car to my limits and test my skills, I could get the most overtakes, or I could get, the most positions gained, and it can help teams out a little bit and get something out of it instead of just driving around in a circle. And although you might have a good race, you won't get anything out of it because they've just decided to get rid of the fastest lap. Why not introduce something to get points?
You almost could tie that in with like the drive of the day. Whoever gets the drive.
Yeah, gets driver of the day, gets to the point.
I
or
mean,
a couple
that
points.
might be a slippery slope.
Well,
Because
it
if
could
it's
be.
fan voted, you could.
Yeah,
That I mean,
but then I
get.
suppose you're getting the fans involved a bit more.
Yeah.
You're giving them a chance to. Now, if you're giving the fans a vote, they could be quite vague. They could be quite strategic.
You could.
As in,
Yeah.
oh, well, I don't like him, so he doesn't. I'm not going to give him that. So, there is actually
Yeah.
maybe that would actually be a bit hard.
I get Robert's point for introducing sort of.
But I think the overtaking sounds a really good idea.
I mean, you do have the overtake award. You're not actually awarded
Oh,
anything.
absolutely.
But I get Robert's point for giving a point because I know so many people were upset about the fact that fastest lap point was taken away. Like Robert said, enticed cars to do something, especially towards the end of the race, to be like, look, I'm not going to get midfield points, I'm not going to get any points, but I want to try for this. And you saw some amazing overtaking and racing for it, and sometimes those points made all the difference. I mean, remember when Daniel Ricciardo stole those points from Lando, and it made the difference in the season.
But last season, you could look at Kimi, Antonelli, and Behrman. You could say Lance, because actually Lance Stroll, although he was...
He can put in a fast lap.
Well, not that. I mean, as in the overtake. Some of the overtakes those three could do, and were doing. You then look at Yuki, or even Hulkenberg, for God's sake. All those. Some of those drivers that are on the cusp of not having points, or not getting anywhere, and then the team's not getting anywhere, actually giving them an opportunity for the most overtakes to be given an opportunity. You're going to do it, aren't you? You're going to have obviously, yes. When you're the leader, if you win it, you don't get that opportunity. But then you're getting 20 points or 25 points for winning, aren't you? At the end of the day, what harm is it that somebody that might not, it could be your second place person that gets it because he's come from the back or whatever. But what's the harm in having somebody in the midfield that isn't getting a point from finishing in the top 10, but he's done 15, 20 overtakes because he's been in and out of the pits because it's just the way it's worked. This, that, and the other. He's got himself thing. Yeah, why can't he have a point? I think that I tell you what, that for me, I think that would be a cracking idea. Not something that can happen this season because it's not there, but it's something that you could always look at and go, well, why would that would be an idea?
Definitely.
I think that's a cracking idea.
Alpine, our favourite French team. We got Pierre Gasly, his 4th season with Alpine. He did score a handful of points last season, but I will say it's not necessarily been his best. It's not been his worst. I just think, unfortunately, he's almost at a stagnant point of there needs to be an improvement somewhere, potentially with the car, obviously. But unfortunately, I'd also argue it might not be his fault. I mean, how many times did they get rid of the principal, get rid of technical directors, now we don't know who the team principal is for them, which I think is a bold choice. you
Well,
know.
If we listen to rumours, you'd never know. There might be a certain person that's been quite well in at Red Bull that's coming in as team principal. If rumours are rumours.
I don't know. We'll have to see. We'll have to see. It will be interesting. I mean, obviously, the other driver for Alpine now is Franco. Obviously, he's done so much in
Yeah.
F1, but never really sort of, I mean, in and out, swap teams, swap places. I think it will be interesting to see if hopefully he can get all the way through one team, start to finish.
I wonder now that it's the drivers have changed. I did okay. Yes, I know Gasly's still.
Mm.
Your other driver's gone, and they brought another young lad in. So Gasly is now going to feel that he'd be the number one driver.
Mm.
Whereas before, I think
With
both drivers
Ocon.
with Ocon, they were both as experienced as each other.
Yeah.
I do believe, and I think Gasly is actually a bloody good driver.
Mm.
I just wonder whether there was, as you said, there was a lot of things happening within the
Yeah.
team. Well, for a start, if the pair of them could stop crashing into each other,
Yeah, would have
that
been
would have been helpful as well. So actually, maybe now that they've got a 1 and a 2, maybe that will help the team in the long run.
Well, I mean, obviously, hopefully, it is Franco's first season to test the car as well. So obviously, we'll hope that he'll do well. But he is almost essentially falling into that rookie role again. And obviously, we did talk about already. But yeah, so there'll be. It will be interesting. I think they're going to be the one that everybody's going to be watching, unfortunately, whether they want to be
In a good way
that-
or a negative
well,
way.
that,
It's gonna-
exactly.
it's-
That's what
it's
I
gonna
mean.
happen,
It's
yeah.
going to be. You've got two very prominent drivers, like we said, and a big branded team.
Yeah.
It will be interesting to see the way that they are going forward. I didn't know if you wanted to talk briefly about the regulation changes. I know we talked about them a little bit, but
yeah,
there's a few differences.
Obviously, the DRS is the big one for me.
Yeah.
I think I'm hoping that could be a bit of a game changer and give
Mhm.
everybody a
So,
bit more.
yeah.
I think we'll see some better racing. I'm hoping with it not being there.
Definitely, I think so. So some of the regulation changes that we obviously know about is the aerodynamics and the chassis. So they have said that it's going to be smaller and lighter cars. So basically a shorter wheelbase for narrower cars, which should allow for closer racing, as if it's not close enough. Narrower tyres, which they're hoping to improve agility and reduce drag. As we saw a lot of, obviously, drag in some of the races, the low downforce tracks that we had. It just put some cars in harder positions, top field cars, and they're on the wrong track and they're just nearly the bottom of the midfield. So hopefully they're aiming to get rid of that. Now, for the DRS replacing, it's now active aerodynamics. So it means that we've got movable front and rear wings that adjust automatically for the cornering and the straights. There's two modes: high downforce, and X mode, which is low drag. And this is what's replacing the DRS. So basically, they're going to move now, and they're going to do it automatically. So there's no DRS button. DRS is activated. It's all automatic, which I think will be interesting to see, especially I'm not that technically knowledgeable in how it's going to be completely set up. I mean, when you damage your front wing, they can sometimes just replace it and chuck it back on. But if it's going to do it automatically now, does that make it slightly more vulnerable? Does it mean that your front and rear wings are going to be something that you need to really protect?
If it's all integral, so it's just a switch, so that if you have an incident and you break your wing, lose your front end or whatever, and you can crawl back to the pits, and it is just clicking another one in and clicking them together, and it's up and running, then I don't see it change. It'll change how the cars feel and how they react, obviously, but it won't change the racing because they know that it's just stick another wing.
Yeah.
But if it's not, and
Well,
once
what
it's
I'm
gone,
saying
it's
is-
gone, and that's the rest of your race with the standard wing. or front end, sorry, then basically, yeah, of course it's going to change the running, because then you go, how many people are going to break a little bit harder and a little thing of this, that, and the other to cancel somebody out.
Well, yeah, but you, yes, but you know, you do run the risk of damaging
Oh,
your
damages
own
that-
wing.
yeah,
You know,
yeah, exactly, yeah,
you're
yeah.
very lucky if you're going to get your side pod
Yeah, yeah.
against their wing. You know.
You know, it'll be interesting to see
Mhm.
the weight of them. I think is where it's going to be key. I think that because I don't think all the cars have to be the same weight. They just have to be. They have to be at a. They have to be within a range. So you obviously some cars are going to be slightly heavier, some are going to be slightly lighter. And I think isn't that something that's already been mentioned? I noticed something about that some people are turning around saying that the Ferrari are already have got a good start because they're lighter by quite a margin compared to some of the others that haven't been able to get down to that weight.
They had a lot of issues with sort of the downforce previous season, so they must have really sort of
Well,
looked
they've really
at it
worked
and gone,
it. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, they're also doing the simpler floor design for safety again. There's sort of stricter side intrusion tests. So, like we said, the side pods. I mean, how many last season almost seemed to be punctured and everything, and that can ruin a race. Stronger roll hoops. Two-stage front impact structure for protection, which is always important. We want protected drivers, but again, front impact structure. Again, you're almost messing with that front wing again.
Yeah.
Yes, it might make it stronger, but then does that mean that it's slightly heavier? Does it mean that there's more components in there that you've now got to keep a stronger eye on? You know, to make it protect a driver. Does it then, if it snaps off, does it then make the rest of the car vulnerable?
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see. Obviously, also the power units and fuel have changed. So we've got electric boost with the cars now, which they said is meant to be 300% more power.
But it's like basically the hybrid, isn't it? Basically,
Yeah.
It's kind of
So they're tripling the electric power and creating a 50-50 split with the internal combustion engine. So we're still keeping that normal engine.
Yeah.
Hopefully that will still have that effect, but it will be interesting to see that hybrid come further and further into effect. I mean, how many times though did we see last season where a driver was told to reserve and charge that battery?
Well, this is now if it's 50-50, surely they would be using more throughout other parts of the track. So in essence, it would make, if somebody's managed to harvest and save more at certain net, they might make it. They've got more power earlier to be able to overtake.
And they might
it
not have
differently.
to save that battery as much as we thought. I mean, how many times did we see it last season that there was the Ferrari being told to save or the McLaren being told to save?
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting. Energy recovery is now sort of coming solely through braking. So again,
Which is the hybrid thing, basically.
Yeah.
Because that's how the hybrid works.
Yes.
When you take your foot off the accelerator
Yeah.
and the car slows down either naturally or you brake, that's then when it charges. So
hopefully that will be in the slow corners. We can see that reserve of energy, and then in the straights we can get that overtaking with that. They're using sustainable fuel now, which they were before, but they're really aiming to try and come down to net zero carbon, obviously, which is by making sure that the fuel's better, the racing's better, which is good. It'll be interesting to see the changes that it might potentially bring. Overtake mode, obviously, as we're getting rid of we've got overtake mode instead, which is new mode to deploy extra electric power within 1 second. So it's still within 1 second.
Yeah.
So it's essentially DRS, but not DRS. It's overtake mode, but it's obviously that extra electric power. So like I was saying, hopefully we'll see it on the straights after some slow braking around some turns. Hopefully we'll sort of get that close racing. It has to be within 1 second again. So hopefully those cars will be within 1 second of each other. So obviously the key goals for the regulation changes they've said were obviously closer racing by reducing the downforce and the drag, sustainability, but also they were wanting to appeal to manufacturers, obviously with new teams, new drivers, new sort of regulation changes. They want that appeal, so it'll be interesting to see where it goes coming into it. Obviously, we'll have the Bahrain testing shortly next month. We say that it's testing. It is testing, obviously, but how many teams sandbag and pretend their results or act like they're not as good as they are? And obviously, always you do a couple races in the season, one team looks good, and then middle of the season they're completely different. But hopefully, going forward, we have closer racing. I mean, that's all we can ask for, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't know. Well, of course, we want to see more close racing and more overtaking, and all the teams being able to be a bit more competitive.
Yeah.
I just hope that by doing almost an overhaul, it doesn't ruin it completely.
I think I almost think, obviously, you can't write off this season as a whole, and there will be a champion and there will be a constructors champion and everything. But I definitely think most of the teams probably are definitely thinking of this as a tester. I mean, they've done it so many times. With every time we've had a regulation change, they go, everyone's in the same boat almost. Obviously, the cars aren't the same and all that, but with how the setup has to go, how the new things have to go, the new rules, the new setup, everything. It's new for everybody, so it's not a tester season, but it's probably going to be a tester season in a way where every car, every driver, every team is going to have to find its feet again a little bit and plan going forward. I mean, I wonder how many teams might end up saying, "Oh, well, we're fine this season, but we're looking forward." They're all
waiting for our new
forward,
upgrade to come in for next year, and then go forward again.
Obviously. Yeah, I think that.
So you're pretty happy that you've covered a good few things about the off season.
Yeah.
As such of things that have gone on. We're now at a point where we're sort of waiting for the pre-season testing, and then once we get that, we're able to see a bit more and gauge a bit more on where teams have improved. I don't think we're gonna, as you said,
we're not going to see everything.
We're not going to see everything until race day, really.
No.
I think if we're truthful, because nobody's just going to give.
Exactly. I mean, they're already so secretive now.
But we got obviously it's personal opinion at the moment, because we haven't seen what's come out yet, other than we've seen cars. We know the drivers. We know to a degree, bar one or two places, we know who all the principals are of what's going to be doing and what. Do we have a thought at the moment?
Or a prediction?
What prediction at the moment of what you think or who you hope for?
I mean, selfishly, obviously, I'd always want to say Lewis. I think it would be. He's a strong contender, no matter what team he's in. He's definitely still got that sort of championship mindset and fight to him, and I think he adapts well to most teams that he's been put in, and it will be interesting to see how this car improves. So I'm hoping he'll be one of our contenders. Again, I mean, I would like to see some more fight from Oscar, personally. I enjoyed Lando's season, but to me, I initially had rooted for Oscar, and I think it would be interesting to see him push back a little bit more. I definitely think he's going to be having to do that this season, especially due to the end of last season. And then maybe for a third contender, I do think even though it pains me, it has to be Max. I mean, he's still got that mindset. He's still, not long ago champion. I think he's definitely not going to just let last season go.
No, I think he'll have a Not that he doesn't fight anyway, but I think
Mm.
he'll have now a bit more of a fight because he goes, oh, well now I want that type, I want that back.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, what about you, Rob? Have you got any sort of early ideas of who you fancy for the season?
Well, I've got who I fancy, but who I think would realistically win, and
Well,
I
you
think
can say both.
realistically, I think it could be a strong push from Verstappen again,
Mm.
because he's got everything to prove to try and win it back again, and not only hold it but also fight and earn a spot. And you could go, McLaren, great strategies at times and great driving at times from both drivers. They could win it, but someone who I want to see win it is Antonelli. I thought he was probably one of the most entertaining drivers for me last year, so I'd go Antonelli.
We could see some. I mean, he did have some amazing races last season. He was getting those podiums.
Mm.
I definitely think he could be a contender. What do you think?
Well, for me, I'm always going to agree with you on the Lewis thing. I think he's brilliant, and I know the frustration of the last 3 years. It's made it hard,
Yeah.
and I just hope that Ferrari have this year got him a car that he can compete with.
Yeah.
I think if he can compete and get a podium or two early,
Mm.
I think you might, we'll get some wins out of him before the end of the season. I think Mercedes are just going to be very powerful this year.
They were last time the regulation changes.
yeah.
I mean,
And they seem to have the factory set up that when the new car comes out, it's there, it's ready, it's let's go. And I'd love Robbie said I'd love to see Anthony. I hope he does. I just think, you know what? Maybe, although he can be a boring bugger when you talk to him and you listen and he talks afterwards. But I think Russell deserves something, and I think he has been understudy to Lewis, and he did do a good job of it. He took over from Lewis and has done a good job of it. He's won his share of races, so we know he can do it, and we know he can put the drive in. We know, so I just think I would love to see Lewis do well. My pick at the moment, till we get more info and see more info, is Russell.
Yeah.
But for somebody that I think is going to maybe surprise a few people this year, I'm going to go with my old mate Bottas. And I think he might. I don't think he's not going to be anywhere near championship. No,
but you think.
But I think he's going to, performance-wise, I think he'll give a few people.
I mean, I do love Checo, but Bottas' performance at Mercedes was just insane for just being not only was he number 2 driver, but I mean he was always number 2. If
he just knew where to put a car on a racetrack, and he knows where to put the car on a racetrack. He knows what to do with it, and I honestly think that kind of the time out that he's had has been a good thing for him, and I think he's going to come back a different. I think he's coming back as a different animal. I don't even think he's coming. He's got nothing to lose.
Yeah.
So whatever happens, he's got nothing to lose. He's got nothing to prove to anybody. Everybody knows he's a driver. But for me, I think he's. I think he's just going to be
a stand-up for you.
Yeah, I think he'll be someone that will. I don't think he'll carry the team on his own because Checo will put some in. But I just think there'll be some performances by him that I think we'll all be going, wow, didn't expect to see that already. Yeah. From him and the team.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm at the moment, and I think that'll be. And obviously, we're all then raring to hear from the teams on some of the things that are happening and coming up to give a little bit more of an idea. And as I say, we're not going to get the whole idea because nobody's going to give it to us. And then we're ready for the start of the season in Australia, which is coming quicker and quicker the more we think about it.
Yeah. Beginning of March.
I know. We're almost at the beginning of February.
That's what I mean now. It's
we've got
only
4
almost
weeks.
a month away.
Exactly.
So we've got our pre-season test in between, and then it will be the racing, and we'll get
Well,
to see.
hopefully, once we get a bit of pre-season testing underway, we get some idea where we are, we'll be able to come and have another discussion and a chat about how some of the teams have been performing on the track.
Yeah.
But no, you get anything you feel that you want to add to anything that you think could just be a surprise or could happen before this? Or
I think a team that will probably perform really well, that I want to see perform really well, is Williams. I think they're getting slightly better and better each year, and I think one of the drivers, although Sainz is good, I feel Albon, I think, is slowly stepping up for it, I feel. And
Albon
I've-
has previously has been quite a good
Yeah,
contender,
and I feel there will be a couple races, like you said, that it was sort of last season, where he'll sort of do great in qualifying, and I think he just needs that one race where he'll manage to stick out the front, and I could see potentially Williams sort of getting some points for the constructors. But
I think they can only they have to now kick on. I think if they don't kick on now, it will be a shame, because where they were 3-4 seasons ago, who would have ever expected Williams to have gone down that rabbit hole and been so bad? That now they're picking themselves up. They've got 2 very capable drivers, and either one in their own right has a place to be able to turn around and say that they could be number 1 in any team.
Yeah.
To be fair, and I think Albon has got that in him as well. I'm not, Sainz, we know, has number 1 quality in a team. So I think, Robbie could be a good call. Be interesting to see what they do. They've had pace,
Yeah.
and sometimes they've had bloody good pace. So it's just whether the race strategies have been not quite worked out for them, and incidents where Sainz has been the worst of the culprits of having incidents and points added because of certain things. So I think maybe his penalties need to increase to give them an even better chance. But I think they could be the team that could knock on the door to be knocking one of the top 4 down.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely saw a lot of the midfield, the lower teams get closer and closer to each other. I mean, Haas and Williams swapped, and even Alpine at times, Aston Martin, they were all sort of jumping up and below each other all the time throughout the whole season. So they're definitely closer in that range. The top 4 teams obviously have been getting closer and closer again. So hopefully, with everything that's changing this season, we are going to see some really close scores, not just obviously racing.
Well, anyway, it was a good chat today, and thank you very much. If anybody has come in, had a listen, and seen what's been said, and we'll wait to see you.